All right. Good morning, everyone. It's 10 o'clock. We're letting everybody in, and I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I have back-to-back meetings. So as we're having everybody join us, please feel free to go ahead and add your name and organization to the chat. Let us know where you're coming from. And thanks for joining us today for the Battery Recycling Stakeholder Meeting. And we're here to discuss Michigan's sustainable path to battery circularity. So my name is Julie Stavelant. I'm the Assistant Division Director for the Materials Management Division at the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy. I will be your host today, and I'm excited to be kicking off this work with all of you. I know this isn't, new to any of you, but we use batteries every day, right? From our cell phones to our little fitness trackers to electric toothbrushes to electric vehicles. Sometimes it's easy to know what to do with a battery when you're done with it, and sometimes it's not so easy. Collection, processing, and end markets for batteries also have their own specific challenges. But before we dive into that, I would like to go ahead and introduce Alessandra Carrion, EGLE's Chief Climate Officer, to set the stage of why battery circularity is so important for Michigan. And also, I probably should have checked. Ale, are you on? Did you get in okay?
I made it.
Yay! Go ahead and take it away.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I'll join by video as well. Um, Wonderful. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Can you see me? I'm not.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm very excited to be here today and join this meeting of brilliant minds. It's an exciting day here at EGLE. I'm Alessandra Carrion. I lead EGLE's Office of Climate and Energy, and our office is responsible for implementing the state's climate mitigation plan to achieve economy-wide carbon neutrality in Michigan by 2050. I wanted to point out there are clear links between today's discussion of the battery value chain and our state's clean energy future. So I'd like to just start by underscoring why this work matters so much to our state. Eagle is excited to bring together people and organizations across the battery value chain and who support the battery value chain so we can ensure the proper management of battery materials and enable a circular system, one that ensures batteries make their way into our economy more readily in the first place, and then keeps batteries and their valuable components, their valuable minerals circulating in our economy. Our state's strong manufacturing base, our recycling capabilities, our innovative industries position us to be leaders in battery circularity. And so this kickoff helps us organize that leadership and turn the vision into reality. So we're already seeing promising solutions emerge across the state to recover batteries and work towards this exciting path. And that is, covering everything from community and county programs, collecting batteries from residents, and we want to see even more of this. Businesses that sort and process consumer batteries with new technologies and innovative approaches. Our companies in the state who invest in EV battery manufacturing, management, recovery, and then supporting businesses and programs that focus on safe handling, detection technology, packaging solution, offering transportation services, and really create jobs across the value chain. Battery circularity helps us manage critical minerals more efficiently, helps us reduce dependence on mine materials, and preserve the environment while driving substantial industry investment and job growth. So, as we build our state's battery future, we can ensure that we scale best practices, we scale safe solutions, and we scale equitable economic opportunities. So, I'm also excited to share that NextCycle Michigan will be launching a battery-focused accelerator this year to provide the technical support, partner connections, and investment opportunities for startups, established businesses, and communities. So there'll also be a battery gap analysis to inform Eagle's work, and hopefully it can inform your work too by providing data to guide investment decisions and strengthen supply chain connections. And so I do want to close because the slide here clearly brings up the My Healthy Climate Plan, but I think it's important to circle back to our state's climate mitigation roadmap in this conversation. The plan outlines strategies to achieve economy-wide decarbonization by 2050. One key strategy of our plan focuses on driving clean innovation in industry to develop and deploy cleaner manufacturing technologies and to conduct research and development to reduce industrial emissions. So, efforts to minimize or recover what would otherwise be treated or considered waste, including Valuable battery minerals and materials directly support the My Healthy Climate Plan. And batteries, we can't go without saying that batteries are also essential for energy storage to support a modern grid, and their use is reflected in our 2023 clean energy laws. And our laws require 2,500 megawatts of battery storage statewide by 2030. So, because batteries rely on critical minerals sourced globally through energy-intensive mining, reusing batteries, recovering materials, and recycling them all strengthen our state's clean energy supply chain and support our economy. So these efforts help fill gaps that would otherwise require extractive processes and depend on markets outside our state and outside our country too. So today's meeting brings us one step closer towards that transformational path that advances the My Healthy Climate Plan goals, including diversifying our state's industry, creating jobs, and protecting our state's precious land and water. And so with that, thank you for letting me join you today. Really happy to be here, and I'll hand it back over to Julie.
Thanks, Ollie. So, as Ali pointed out, battery recycling plays an important role in Michigan, not just to reach our climate goals, but for our economy and our resiliency efforts as well. So, our objectives for today are to ensure essentially that we're all on the same page in the battery landscape in Michigan. We want to make sure that we're gathering input on priorities, needs, and challenges, and then we're going to discuss an exciting new state program that we're rolling out. Okay, so for our agenda, here's what we kind of have planned. We're going to do this broad overview where we talk about the landscape and our current efforts and some other cool key information. And then we're going to focus the majority of the time on a facilitated breakout discussions. Once we're done with the breakout discussions, we're going to have a report back and we're going to finish up with next steps. So to get us kind of started, I want to give a little background on the Materials Management Division and our efforts in energy pollution prevention and recycling. So within our area of MMD, I like to call us the fun side. I have the honor of directing the amazing teams and programs in energy pollution prevention and recycling. In each of our programmatic areas, we provide technical assistance and grant funding opportunities to communities and businesses across the state for a wide range of projects. We have programs that focus on everything from energy efficiency upgrades for homes and buildings, zoning for renewables, electric vehicle charging infrastructure, technical assistance through our Catalyst Communities initiative, transitioning diesel fleets to electric, food waste reduction and diversion, programs that focus on increasing recycling capacity and reducing contamination in recycled materials, and expanding the circular economy through an accelerator program, NextCycle Michigan. At EGLE, our mission is to protect Michigan's environment and public health by managing air, water, land, and energy resources. And specifically within the Materials Management Division, through our technical assistance and incentive funding programs, our goal is to promote healthy communities, economic growth, and environmental sustainability. So when we talk about the battery landscape, batteries, as I mentioned before, batteries are everywhere and they power our modern life. But when improperly disposed, I know you all know this, they can pose serious safety risks and environmental hazards. And at the same time, these batteries contain valuable materials and minerals that can be recovered and returned to productive use. So this is where the circular economy plays a critical role and it really shines. Circular economy designs really design out waste and pollution across the value chain. It ensures that our resources and materials and products are kept in use and not just going to a landfill. And as an economic model, it's centered on jobs and sustainable solutions. By using recycled materials, we can use less energy, water, and natural resources. And recovering batteries also strengthens a circular supply chain and reduces dependence on foreign sources of critical minerals and encourages innovation. So just to kind of look at the nation as a whole, the scale of battery recycling is immense, right? So when we're talking about the scale of battery recycling in 2023, there was over 8 million pounds of consumer batteries that were collected for recycling. And it's estimated that over the next 10 years, this volume is going to triple. So this is a huge opportunity to put these resources back into our economy. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Matt.
Thanks, Julie. Yeah, we have a lot to be proud of here in Michigan. As I talk to my colleagues in other states working on battery recycling and just circularity in general, they are envious of the work that we're able to accomplish here. Next slide, please. The the NextCycle Michigan program has incubated dozens of NextCycle partners, supported investments in education, collection, and infrastructure, going on 5 years now, with the number of teams and participants pushing over 200. Some of those businesses that you see there with their logos have been deeply involved in creating the supply chain necessary to make sure that the batteries make their way from either the curb or a loading dock in Michigan into a new product, whether it's through reuse or black mass processing or processing that material directly. Next slide, please. And it's important to put this in context with the work that we're already doing. We're doing a lot of work on education, infrastructure, and markets, with the specific focus in this conversation related to how those connect to battery recycling. We've had quality improvement grants to make sure that people know not what they should be putting in the recycling bin. Um, and we have the Know It Before You Throw It education campaign to help people know how to get correct information on how, where, and why to recycle. We've had our infrastructure grants, and we've supported a number of programs across the value chain from an infrastructure perspective, whether it's collection, processing, or end use. And our markets, our circular economy grants, which are currently open right now if you're looking at applying, our NextCycle accelerator that Ale and Julie have mentioned, and a relatively new opportunity has been the critical minerals grants. And the critical minerals grants were an appropriation of about $5 million to support research and development and demonstration of innovative solutions. These were focused on research institutions. And I think as we get into this process where we're gathering your feedback and what it is that you would like, I'd like you all to think about how research or commercialization fits into our investments. Um, as the next slide, please. These are the three grants that we are working on right now, and they go across that value chain. They look at black mass reuse. They're looking at second life battery grid storage, and they're looking at safe and effective disassembly and sorting to make the recycling process of EV batteries more safe and efficient. Um, and those are all things that connect into that overall supply chain that we're working at growing. And as you're providing feedback about markets and infrastructure and education, think about where we would best be placing our dollars. This was a legislative appropriation. We have additional funding, luckily through the Renew Michigan and so many of the people on this call that worked to secure that funding. And let's deploy the resources that we have, technical and financial resources, as effectively as possible so that we can grow our circular economy in Michigan for batteries. So I'm going to hand it over to Elisa because she'll talk about how we connect data into this overall approach of how we're working to grow that circular economy. Thanks, Elisa.
Thanks, Matt. Hi, Elisa Seltzer, Senior Consultant at RRS, and I help lead NextCycle Michigan with a strong team of experts and collaborators. RRS recently concluded a consumer battery gap analysis for EGLE, and the results have greatly increased our understanding and lay the groundwork for the path ahead. We wanted to get an understanding of what people are really doing with their batteries. What do they understand about the options available at end of life? We quantified how many batteries are being purchased, used, and recovered or not in a year. We looked at access to recycling of batteries by type across the state at both public drop-offs and retail establishments. We got insights from key stakeholders from across the battery value chain. We did a thorough policy overview with best-in-class examples, and finally provided considerations for solutions. We are going to be diving into all these areas during our breakout discussions, but I just wanted to give you a little sneak peek of the kind of work that's been done. So before we can develop circular solutions, we need to understand the gaps in recovery that exist in Michigan. Our work has demonstrated that over 12,000 tons of consumer batteries are replaced each year in Michigan, and only about 10% of them, or about 1,250 tons, are being recycled. That leaves over 10,700 tons being disposed annually. So we have a number of batteries by type to consider effective recovery solutions for. So we now know where batteries are ending up, but what do people think they're doing with these batteries at end of life? A third of respondents thought batteries belonged in their trash or in the recycling cart, and almost half of them, 43% of Michigan residents, think they're doing the right thing with their batteries when they're throwing them out or putting them in their recycling cart. 17% of Michigan residents are storing batteries at home, either unsure what to do with them or intending at some point to take them somewhere for handling. That is 60% of respondents presenting safety hazards in their handling or non-handling of their batteries at end of life. The promising takeaway is that 95% of Michigan residents would recycle more with clear instructions and convenient drop-offs. They would like access to recycling at local retail stores. They'd like it to be free. They'd like more community collection events. But most of all, they're looking for convenience and guidance. So how do we get there? We have a valued partner at NextCycle Michigan, which is the Michigan Recycling Coalition. If we go to the next slide, MRC is a valued partner of NextCycle Michigan. We work collaboratively on all programming. Led by Karen O'Brien, Executive Director, the MRC is working on elevating a best practice policy approach. I'd like to welcome Karen to unmute and say a few words about their work in this space.
Yeah, thank you so much, Elisa. This is a really important topic and one that we've been paying attention to for years now because we know the value of batteries. But what has changed is the chemistry of batteries and the risks that they pose to all of the infrastructure used to manage our waste stream. Many municipalities, haulers across the state have reported battery fires in their material recovery facilities, in their trucks, at their transfer stations. And we know that, fires are a problem at home too. And so we are working with the Michigan House of Representatives to move forward a battery safety bill. This bill, it really identifies and focuses on loose, small, and medium format batteries. These are generally the household batteries that we use to power our devices, and not yet the embedded battery devices. That will be dealt with in another. But this bill will really focus on those batteries that can be easily separated from devices because those are the materials we need to get back and handle in a more appropriate way. I think that we're all highly interested in making sure that we can get this material back. The problem is paying for that. So this battery safety bill is a producer responsibility approach to making sure that we can get those batteries back and we can reuse those components in manufacturing in the future, the topic that we're talking about today. But we have to pay for those programs. And this battery safety bill, that will be probably available to all of you within the next 10 days or 2 weeks to review, is something that we hope to move through the legislature this year. It's not a great year to move bills because it's a very significant election year here in Michigan and in the national space, but we will be talking about this bill very soon, and we'll be bringing the appropriate stakeholders to the table to talk more. If you're interested in learning more, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat here, and I'm really excited to be talking about this topic today. Thanks so much, Elisa.
Thanks, Karen. Next up, Centropolis Accelerator at Lawrence Tech University also works with NextCycle Michigan, bringing their technical expertise to the NextCycle accelerators and soon to the upcoming battery accelerator. Dan Radomski, CEO, leads their work, and he and his team bring a wealth of expertise to the table. Dan, would you like to unmute and share a little about your work?
Yeah, thanks, Elisa. Centropolis Accelerator is a partner in the NextCycle Michigan program, and reporting into RRS and supporting EGLE's initiative in this area. We also have some other programs that are supported by EGLE and the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. and involve work in the battery supply chain area. So one of those is we are through our C3 accelerator funded by EGLE. We support clean energy products of all type, electric vehicles, and others that use battery technology. So we're constantly developing battery cells, battery modules, battery packs that go into products that are made right here in Michigan. Increasingly, we're developing batteries that are less dependent on foreign materials as we try to onshore and create a domestic supply chain for batteries. So thanks to EGLE and other organizations, we're working on battery development. We have several battery experts on our team, 20, 30-year veterans. I studied how batteries are made as well as the battery recycling supply chain. We have been involved in looking at the end-of-life battery refurbishment and recycling value chain, especially the end-of-life batteries from electric vehicles and other key products, not so much consumer products. And through that have really identified some of the best business models that will support Michigan companies in that refurbishment and recycling value chain. And a lot of it, you have to take a look at both consumer batteries and industrial batteries, vehicle batteries, and the chemistries that are used and have been used over time frame, and the value of those raw materials for either recycling or repurposing and refurbishing for second life use. So that knowledge can be made available to those that are on this call and that go through the Battery Accelerator Program. And we've developed really deep connections with the battery industry here in Michigan through the state of Michigan's Labor and Economic Opportunity Organization. They funded us to do a battery industry asset mapping and value chain analysis. So we actually interviewed all the battery companies that either make battery cells, battery cell materials, battery module and component manufacturers, including our automotive OEMs, tier ones, and others in the industry. We interviewed all the battery recycling companies and those that are involved in refurbishment of modules and packs, and have obviously learned a lot through that process. That knowledge may be of value to those that are tuning in today or go through the Battery Accelerator Program. And then thanks to EGLE, we've been working through our university here at Lawrence Technological University to look at ways to make battery refurbishment and recycling higher value and higher margin businesses. If you're familiar with like an end-of-life, full battery electric vehicle pack, it's very much a manual process to disassembly and to go through disassembly, whether you're refurbishing or doing downstream recycling of the key components. So we've been working on an automated robotic battery pack disassembly project to speed up that process, ensure that it's done safely and with quick throughput, and that can allow for better margin businesses in the refurbishment and recycling supply chain here in Michigan. So that's primarily our work, and and glad to be able to share any knowledge connections that might be helpful. We work closely with the automotive OEMs or battery refurbishment recycling teams and others in the supply chain, as does RRS.
Great. Thank you, Dan. Really appreciate it. I am now going to hand it back to Julie to help lay out our battery landscape going forward.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Dan. So this is such great information. Just to recap, recycling batteries is critical to achieving our goals. Industry is already investing in and navigating solutions right here in Michigan. There's a growing momentum for policy changes. EGLE is dedicated to providing ongoing funding and grants for battery recycling and innovation. We conducted a gap analysis that focused on identifying the gaps in collection and processing in Michigan, and identified opportunities to align stakeholders and best practices, which is why we're all here today. Again, thanks for joining us. Okay, so with all this momentum, EGLE is launching a dedicated program for battery circularity. This is the Michigan Sustainable Path to Battery Circularity. In order not to recreate the wheel or duplicate efforts and to ensure that we have a comprehensive approach to battery circularity, our focus is to engage and collaborate with all of the existing stakeholders across the battery value chain, which is all of you. We want to ensure that we develop a statewide, lasting, and sustainable strategy for battery recycling. We want to make sure we enhance battery circularity, keeping these critical minerals out of our landfills and in our economy. and be centered on education and outreach. So when we're talking about consumer battery recycling and related battery work, it aligned really nicely with some of the stimulus funding that came out earlier in 2024. In 2024, the Department of Energy, under the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, they announced the Smart Manufacturing and Recycling Tactics for States grant funding opportunity. So Michigan went ahead and applied, and we applied for the state and local battery collection, recycling, and reprocessing topic area, with the objective to really try and coordinate existing battery funding and program efforts in order to develop this statewide strategy. So we applied for $2 million in grant funding with a $2 million match. So it would be a total of a $4 million program over 3 years. In December of 2024, we did receive a conditional award from the Department of Energy, but then the federal administration changed, and so it kind of went into a pause as they reorganized. But we just recently restarted negotiations with DOE and are making forward momentum towards finalizing our award. So we're really excited for that movement. The scope of our project was really focused on consumer battery recycling and kind of focused on 4 key areas. Targeted education and outreach, expanding our Know It Before You Throw It campaign that Matt mentioned earlier. You may have seen our recycling raccoons. Developing a specific Catalyst community webinar series that was targeted to local government's role in battery policy and collections. Expanding collections, gathering data and conducting a gap analysis on existing battery collections in Michigan, and then working with manufacturers, retailers, and recyclers across the state to really increase state take-back programming. We also wanted to make sure that we increase recycling infrastructure, targeting and providing specific funding allocated for the Centers for Hard to Recycle Materials as part of our annual Recycling Infrastructure Grant Program. And then, of course, a specific focus on market development, developing a consumer battery-focused accelerator track to specifically target and support solutions for consumer battery recycling, recovery, and processing as part of the NextCycle Michigan program. So these areas combined, kind of give us the creation of a new statewide advisory group of stakeholders, and it's going to allow us to coordinate efforts with all of our external partners and result in a comprehensive consumer battery recycling roadmap for Michigan. But we can't talk about consumer batteries without also talking about electric vehicle batteries. So in parallel to our consumer battery recycling work, we're also focusing on supporting sustainable development across the battery value chain and support solutions for EV battery recovery. Dan had mentioned some of the work that we're doing with Centropolis and their C3 accelerator. Matt was talking about our critical minerals work. So it all overlaps very nicely. Really trying to continue with the grant funding and support. We currently have the Circular Economy Grant that's open through March 13th. So if you're interested, we are seeking applications. And these grants support the development and circular supply chain in Michigan. And then, of course, under innovation, NextCycle Michigan is one of our EGLE initiatives that we've been having going for over 5 years now. And it's really designed to accelerate Michigan's circular economy by connecting entrepreneurs, businesses, and communities with technical support, mentorship, and funding to divert these critical materials from landfills back into the economy. Right now, we actually are currently accepting team applications for our public-led recycling solutions and recycling supply chain solutions, and those applications are due March 25th. And we'll be continuing in stakeholder engagement and best practices. So a little bit more on the NextCycle accelerator. We are going to be launching a special accelerator later this summer, specifically to support the advancement of battery recycling solutions. Teams that are accepted into the NextCycle Accelerator Program, they receive 6 months of free technical support and coaching. There's a workshop and a showcase events, and they're connected with partner and investors. So stay tuned. We're going to have more information coming out, but it's going to be coming out this summer. And so for now, I think we're wrapping up on the kind of the overview part of our battery meeting. And so I'd like to hand it over to Kira to explain how the breakout rooms are going to work. Kira?
Amazing. I think that was a really helpful intro to set the stage of where Michigan currently stands, the work that's already happening, and all of you are here today to help add to the dialogue, share your insights and things that the state should be considering as we move forward. So these breakout discussions are going to go back to some of the gaps or potential solutions that may have been highlighted already, share some insights, see where there may be collaborative approaches, and also considering how EGLE plays into supporting the battery value chain in the. So we are going to have 2 rounds of breakouts. We have about an hour, so it should be about 25 minutes in each breakout room, and we'll leave some time to come back in the main room between these rounds to share some reflections. So the first round, we will be splitting up by topics, so by collection and processing and markets. We recognize that some of you are coming from the perspective of different battery formats, so some of you may be focused on consumer battery collection, others focus on the collection and transport of EV batteries. And we hope through that discussion, you'll talk through some of the safety, the policy, the gap and challenges that happen across any battery format and are some of those shared challenges. And then we'll come back and split up by format so you can talk more specifically with some of your shared battery format folks to dive into those. So MRED should be launching our battery breakout rooms. This will be a self-select, so we will have leads in each room from EGLE to administer these, but please start with joining either collection A, collection B if you'd like to talk about collection, and then there's also processing in markets A and processing in markets B. So join the breakout room that you would prefer to talk about. And we do have leads in each of those rooms to guide the discussion. We recognize since these are self-selecting, please try to distribute yourselves between these rooms, and we'll try to have a roughly even split of attendees. But we'll see you all in the rooms. Thank you so much.
And making sure that we are aligning our transportation policies with opportunities to create Michigan supply chains. Maybe making the opportunity is to look at our transportation laws for these batteries and see if there's a way that we can make them easier to manage for our recyclers and reprocessors. But I would like to say that I think we get a gold star because we filled up one in every box, and I did not expect that. So that was good work, markets and processing team.
Yeah, our discussion was focused on markets and processing too, and at least one section that stood out was around packaging, which just around when we're transporting batteries, whether it's EVs or consumer batteries, there's packaging that have fire retardants or have the opportunity to be reused and recycled themselves. So I think that's one of those topics that's an intersection across formats that we need to work on addressing, continuing to scale.
I was a informal leader in my group, Collection B, and we really focused on the fact that we have very different streams of materials, the consumer batteries and the EV batteries, but both of them have real significant funding issues. EV batteries may cost us at the end of their life if we don't come up with some solutions to make it economically feasible. And we all know that if we are going to need kind of constant supervision and handling of consumer batteries, that is going to have to be paid for, because we need that kind of ready observation and management of a program because of the risks of batteries.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect segue into our round 2, which this is where we will break out by format. So it's going to be the same topics around safety, education, funding, transport, policy, and gaps, but specifically diving into either consumer batteries or EV batteries. So you'll again have the opportunity to self-select which room you are interested in. There will be 2 rooms for each. So 2 rooms for consumer batteries, 2 rooms for EV batteries. And I'd encourage you all to take some learnings from what you discussed with the broader group, and where there's some shared challenges that you may be able to address specifically by your format. So we'll see you all in the rooms. Welcome back again. I hope everyone had great discussions in the second breakout there. Again, I know these are quick hitter discussions, but I am curious again what takeaways there were when you were talking specifically about your battery format that you may be closest to. I'm curious on the consumer side to start there.
Consumer side, wow. We could have
Put
probably
on the
talked
spot,
for,
DJ.
yeah, that's fine. No, we could have probably talked all day on this one. And I mean, everybody had somebody from Colorado in there. How you used to do things in Colorado. So, it's always looking for a solution when you go to these. And we didn't come up with a solution. We came up with a lot of problems, problems we need to address. I think, one thing I said is all the issues is like, is EPR the bridge that's going to close this gap? Is that what we're going to have to do? Because it seems to be, I mean, the education piece, the funding piece is like, how do we all check all these wickets? It's like, I don't know, maybe EPR is that one wicket you check and it satisfies the requirement. And it might be the hardest, but it also might be the simplest one too. And what is the simplest solution is, to me, is always the best solution. So.
Thanks, CJ. Did the other consumer room have any other takeaways on consumer?
Yeah, we had a good discussion. Again, it's been really interesting hearing it's a group of people that really represent so many different touch points on this chain. But we had folks talking about we had someone talking about UP supply chains. We were talking about using tech, modern tech to monitor safety and have early indicators of any problems. We talked about post-secondary education opportunities, fire department, fire hazards, transportation safety, aligning messaging with end markets, and then a little discussion about how to bring some of this messaging forward to materials management planning committees who are sort of in the thick of setting goals for their regions.
You both covered a broad range of topics there. And I assume similar was in the processing side. Matt, do you want to share about your breakout?
Yeah. I think that it was a nice continuing of the conversation that we had. We talked about the connection to critical minerals and what actions are happening at the federal level and how to plug into those, which I think is a really important thing. The thing that struck me when I was listening to our group of about 30 people is the level of expertise that we have in Michigan. Spending your time right now, this, morning on a Thursday in the winter, talking about these items. I think that we've got a pretty full list. Bridget, thank you for putting those together, and I can't wait to compile all of them together. Um, Training definitely came up again. I think that was I'm sensing a bit of a theme there. Transportation came up again. Um, Specific action items related to that. I really liked our group. I would say our group was a little different, DJ. Our group seemed to be focusing on specific action steps that we can take, not just problems. We've got a pretty smart and positive group in our group, and I'm sure yours was too. But that's what I had to say.
Awesome. And we're about at time, so I'm actually going to transition back to Julie to wrap things up, so that now that we had these discussions, you know what's happening next.
Thanks,
Julie,
Kira.
I'll hand it to you.
Yeah, thanks so much, everybody, for your participation today. This is just the beginning. We're just getting started. So I feel like the stakeholder meeting was very informative. It was great to see such number of people show up, and I'm really excited for what to come next. So we're going to continue the stakeholder engagement over the next, several months and, over the next year or so once we get our DOE award. We are gauging interest right now in participation of an advisory group to really kind of shape how we move forward on this roadmap for battery circularity. So there's a QR code on your screen. You can take a picture, scan with your phone to bring up the form to let us know if you're interested in participating. Otherwise, stay tuned. We are going to be releasing the full battery gap analysis, so stay tuned for a press release on that. We've got a link on the bottom of this slide here for our new webpage that we have that's going to be dedicated to battery circularity, and we'll be posting updates with the recordings and the notes from our meeting And I look forward to working with you guys in the future. So thank you again for your time today. Appreciate all your work. And stay tuned and have a great rest of your week. Thanks, everybody.